The real way to emotionally detach from someone. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Letting go of someone you care deeply about feels like trying to quiet a storm with your bare hands. You tell yourself it's time, that it's healthier this way, that you deserve peace, but your heart refuses to cooperate. It replays memories, clings to what-ifs, and romanticizes moments that may not have even been healthy. If you've ever found yourself stuck in that emotional tug-of-war, you're not alone. Detaching from someone, especially when emotions are tangled up with love, fear, or hope, is one of the most painful things we go through as humans. But here's the truth. Emotional detachment isn't about turning off your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about reclaiming your inner space, understanding your emotional wiring, and choosing to stop investing in places that hurt more than heal. Psychology doesn't just explain why we hold on. It offers tools to help us let go with grace and strength. In this video, we're diving deep into the real, often messy process of emotional detachment. Whether you're walking away from a breakup, a situationship, a toxic dynamic, or even just the idea of someone, you're gonna learn not just how to let go, but how to emotionally free yourself without losing your capacity to love or connect in the future. Let's begin. Part 1. Why we struggle to let go. Letting go of someone you care about isn't just painful, it's chemically difficult. When you form a bond with someone, your brain releases chemicals like oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. These aren't just feel-good hormones. They're the biological glue that reinforces emotional connection. Your mind begins associating this person with comfort, reward, and even survival. So when that connection breaks, it's not just emotional withdrawal, it's neurological. What makes it harder is how our brain deals with loss. We experience something called cognitive dissonance, the inner conflict between what we know, this person isn't good for me, this relationship is over, and what we feel, but I still love them, maybe it can work. The mind starts looping, searching for closure, creating scenarios, replaying memories, all in an attempt to make sense of the disconnect between heart and logic. And underneath all of this, there's often something deeper at play. Our early attachment experiences. If we grew up with emotional inconsistency, rejection, or neglect, our adult relationships might mimic those patterns. We unconsciously chase what feels familiar, not necessarily what feels safe. Letting go can feel like losing a part of yourself, not because the person was perfect, but because your inner child still believes love needs to be earned or fixed. The truth, struggling to let go doesn't mean you're weak. It means your nervous system, shaped by past experiences, is trying to protect you from emotional danger. You're not broken, you're wired for connection. But with awareness, you can start rewiring for something healthier. Peace. Part 2. Understanding your emotional patterns. Before you can truly let go, you have to understand how you attach. Psychology gives us a framework called attachment theory, which outlines how our early relationships shape the way we connect as adults. There are 4 styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. If you find yourself struggling to detach, there's a good chance you're dealing with an anxious or disorganized pattern, styles rooted in fear of abandonment and emotional inconsistency. People with anxious attachment often cling to relationships, even when they're painful. They crave connection but fear being left. Those with disorganized attachment are often caught in push-pull dynamics, wanting love but fearing vulnerability. In both cases, detachment feels less like healing and more like emotional death. It's not just about missing someone, it's about losing your sense of safety. This is where emotional dependency comes in. You might not be in love with the actual person. You might be addicted to the feeling of being needed, validated, or chosen. Dependency shows up in subtle ways, constantly checking their status, fantasizing about reunions, or defining your self-worth by their attention. It's not healthy love, it's emotional survival. So here's the hard question to ask yourself. Am I holding on to them, or to the version of myself I felt when I was with them? Once you begin seeing your patterns, you stop romanticizing pain. You stop calling attachment fate, and you start recognizing the difference between connection and emotional captivity. Part 3. The psychology of detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop over-caring at the expense of yourself. It's the ability to create enough space between you and your feelings so they don't control your behavior. Think of it like stepping outside of a storm instead of standing in the middle of it. You can observe the chaos without getting pulled under. To detach, you have to shift your thinking. And this is where cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, comes in. CBT teaches that thoughts create feelings, and feelings drive actions. So if you want to change how you feel, you start by changing how you think. For example, I'll never love again becomes I loved before and I can love again. They were my soulmate becomes they were important, but not irreplaceable. These shifts are powerful. They help rewire your emotional reality. Boundaries are also essential. This doesn't always mean blocking or ghosting, though sometimes it does. Boundaries are about protecting your emotional energy. That could mean not responding to late-night texts, muting their social media, or choosing not to engage in conversations that reopen wounds. You're not being rude, you're being responsible for your own healing. Each time you choose not to check on them, not to engage, not to spiral, you're reinforcing emotional independence. You're telling your brain, this chapter is over. I'm safe now. Detachment isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering yourself, your peace, and your worth, even when it hurts. Part 4. Rewiring your brain and reclaiming yourself. Once you start creating space between you and the person you're detaching from, the real work begins. Rewiring your brain. This isn't about erasing the past. It's about teaching your mind new patterns, new rewards, and new emotional anchors. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections, proves that change is possible when you consistently replace emotional triggers with healthier habits. The intensity of your attachment begins to fade. Journaling is a powerful tool here. Not the I miss them kind, but the what did I learn and who am I becoming kind. When you put your emotions on paper, you separate them from your identity. You begin to see your healing as a process, not a punishment. Pair this with mindfulness practices like deep breathing, grounding exercises, or guided meditations, and you create calm where chaos used to live. As you detach from the relationship, it's just as important to reconnect with yourself. Start small. What did you stop doing while you were focused on them? What hobbies, friendships, or dreams were put on hold? Rediscovering yourself after emotional enmeshment is like reintroducing your own soul to the room. You're not just letting go of them, you're making space for you again. Finally, get intentional about your future. Start setting goals not as distractions, but as declarations. I want peace. I want emotional freedom. I want to choose relationships that don't cost me my self-worth. The more clarity you create around who you are becoming, the easier it is to let go of who you no longer need to be. Part 5. Staying detached without becoming numb. There's a fine line between emotional detachment and emotional numbness. One is healthy, the other is avoidance. The goal isn't to shut your heart down. It's to open it more mindfully. Healthy detachment means you care, but not at the cost of your peace. You feel, but you're no longer ruled by the highs and lows of someone else's presence or absence. To stay detached without becoming numb, you have to stay present. Emotional relapses often happen when we spiral into memory or fantasy. Maybe they'll change. What if I'd done something different? But the reality is, healing only happens in the now. Practicing mindfulness, checking in with yourself daily, and noticing when your thoughts drift back into old patterns keeps you grounded. You'll still miss them sometimes. That's normal. Missing someone isn't a sign you made a mistake, it's a sign you're human. The key is not letting that feeling drive your behavior. You can miss someone and still not reach out. You can feel sad and still hold your boundary. Emotional strength isn't about feeling nothing. It's about feeling everything and choosing to honor your healing anyway. If detachment continues to feel overwhelming, or if the emotional pain becomes too heavy to carry alone, it's okay to seek help. Therapy, support groups, or even talking to a trusted friend can remind you that you don't have to do this alone. Emotional freedom is hard-won, but it becomes more real when you give yourself permission to receive support. Conclusion: letting go is finding your way back to you. Letting go of someone isn't a one-time act. It's a process. It's the slow, steady decision to choose your peace over your patterns. It's learning to sit with discomfort without letting it control you. It's recognizing that what you once needed isn't what you need anymore, and that's okay. Asumidas to simulate discomfort without letting it control you. It's recognizing that what you once needed isn't what you need anymore, and that's okay. You don't have to hate someone to let them go. You don't need perfect closure to move on. Sometimes healing means accepting that the story didn't end the way you wanted, and finding the strength to write a new one anyway. Your worth isn't tied to who stayed, who left, or who couldn't love you the way you deserved. It's tied to how you rise after letting go. You are not cold for detaching. You are not heartless for choosing yourself. You're courageous. You're growing. You're healing. And that process is messy, non-linear, and absolutely valid. The fact that you're here trying, learning, and holding space for your own emotional truth means more than you realize. So take a breath, let yourself grieve, but also let yourself grow. This isn't just about losing someone. It's about finding your way back to you.